Try. Prof. Shimbari, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know whether you're hearing me now.
Now I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have visuals of your presentation. If you are ready, we can start now. As the Master of Ceremonies indicated, you have 30 minutes for your presentation, after which you will allow for 30 minutes of questions. And if you are ready, your 30 minutes start now.
I'm ready. Please, if at any one stage I lose you, let me know. The technician can just send me a WhatsApp. But I hope you are hearing me. Can you hear me clearly?
We can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay, I am starting now. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present myself. I really wish I had been able to come, but so far so good. The arrangements are working. I would like to present my vision on the roles and functions of the Office of the PVC, Research, Innovation and Development, towards providing effective services to the University of Namibia. I have three objectives to fulfill in my presentation. I would want to pronounce my vision as a UNAM PVC lead, and I would also like in this presentation to unpack my implementation strategy for realizing that vision. Thirdly, I want, as I go on, demonstrate my capacity to deliver on the expectations for the portfolio. So, few of that, I arranged my presentation in such that I give the general context and the context within UNAM. I also will then talk about my vision and the strategies, and I'll end with what I call a sustainability plan. So I want to talk about what informed my vision of intensifying research at UNAM. So I looked at the national imperatives for Namibia, which wishes to be a prosperous and industrialized Namibia by 2030. In that context, also looked at the vision for the university, which dovetails that national imperatives, and it emphasizes research and innovation achievement by 2030. I took into account the issue of stakeholders who are also present today, the fact that we need to understand that their nature is changing, as well as that of the clientele I'll talk about later. We cannot talk about UNAM without bringing in a Council for Higher Education, which emphasizes on quality service delivery. But above all, I have been thinking as I was preparing this presentation, the future in the context of the fourth industrial revolution and the implications for the rest of Namibia, Namibia itself as a country, and for Africa as a region. Some of the documents that informed my thoughts are what I could find on the public domain. I could find several research reports, but the latest one I did to access was that one of 2015. I got hold of this important document, the Cadiz Consultants Report, which has got good details about UNAM and the challenges it is facing. I also was able to get hold of the Angola publication on the higher education systems and institutions in Namibia. And I was able to lay my hands on the inaugural speech by Prof. Atem, who is current Vice Chancellor of the University of Namibia, in his speech which he called UNAM with that. And that really inspired me. But I also had to look at the funding arrangements for Namibia in general, which is coming from the Council for Higher Education in terms of operationalizing the budgets. So these were just a few documents I could lay my hands on, but obviously I went to the website and I looked at the vision, the mission, and the values of UNAM so that I could prepare my presentation in context. So with that, with all these documents and my own experience, I was able to visualize that UNAM is currently facing mounting pressure from both exogenous and endogenous factors. UNAM, as it is right now, is facing competition from other national higher education institutes. We know that there is only NAST, which is also funded by government, but I've learned that there are at least 40 institutions that are seeking accreditation, which means the competition is even going to get greater. The competition from the region and the international universities, we are all competing for the same students and for the same lecturers. When we look at the policies, we have to comply with the country's Vision 2030, and we have to meet the expectations of the Council of Higher Education. We have also to look at the Namibia National Qualification Framework. Apart from that, when we look at the clients, students have become customers. They Google our professors. They want to find out how much they are publishing. They want to know what university they are getting to. So the situation has changed over the years. The stakeholders are expecting to see that the knowledge generated from our university is indeed turned into useful products. So these are all challenges that are mounting on us as an institution. But there are new challenges that are coming because of the socio-economic environment. The world is almost in a recession. There are new challenges that are coming up. Resources are limiting. There's compromised ethics. So our staff, our students are not behaving normal because of the challenges that they are facing, not because they are delinquent. And we have to find ways to address that. And finally, we know that the industrial revolution is coming, it's for real. There are issues also of globalization and climate change, which demand new innovative thinking. Above all, you have to start thinking of what kind of graduates we are going to produce, who are going to be able to get on a market which is dominated by artificial intelligence. With that, I also wanted to do some introspection, and I found that there were a lot of enablers, which I can summarize. The enablers for UNAM currently is the fact that we have reasonable structures for research, for growing research and innovation and development. And we are spread across the country in the regional centers, which means we are the best university to service the country currently when we compare ourselves with our competitors. We have a very good strategic plan that emphasizes on read, and we have got institutional political will, which the passion with which the Vice Chancellor on his inauguration talked about research and his vision does show that it is an enabling environment currently. However, there are some things that we need to fix. So I've observed that we do not have enough numbers of doctoral and professorial staff. I note that we have about 36 professors in the whole university. And we have a small portion of the lecturers having doctoral degrees. We have poor doctoral students throughput. We are not graduating enough PhDs to topple the economy of Namibia. We are not making great impact. Yes, we are publishing, but our impact is minimal, and that is reflected by our position on the log of the university rankings in Africa and the world. We may actually note that currently NAST, which is our competitor, is above us in terms of rankings. And we want to ask the question, what are they right better than us? We have poor mentorship. At least I could not see a very good mentorship program from the documents I looked at. We also have got limited institutional research fund support to support, and this is not because the investor does not want to provide, but the resources are getting depleted with time. There are more pressing issues. Poor grantsmanship is rampant in the university. I've noticed that some units are generating grants, but generally these are small grants. This is a group of individuals who are happy to have a small amount of money which is large enough for them, but not big enough to drive an institution like UNAM. I've noticed that there are challenges which are not only limited to UNAM. At UKZN, we face the same problem, ethical approval process. And this is why we have now gone on a system that is actually online for submission, and the turnaround time is improved. So this is still ahead of UNAM. We also have got poor institutional data intelligence. So data has to be gathered in one place, and this is how you can improve your log position in the ranking of universities. If you can account for what every professor, what every postdoctoral fellow, what every academic is doing. So there seem to be many reds there, but I can assure you that this can be fixed. Now the search committee has got a great opportunity and a timely one to identify and appoint the best candidates to make a step change in it. This is a chance in a lifetime for the university to apply their mind to get the best candidate. So my vision is to make the University of Namibia research intensive with stronger partnerships with industry for local impact. And this can be achieved through 6-point strategy. My strategy is that to double up the third stream income, we promote commercialization of UNAM's research products, what we call research into use. We increase the number of staff with PhD publications, because that will also push our productivity, and I call that process credentialing. We want to improve the publication profile of UNAM, placing emphasis on quality so that we can have better impact. We need to increase UNAM's postgraduate throughput through capacity development processes. And we need to develop and promote an appropriate mentorship and supervision program, which is part of capacity development and talent management, so that we group the young ones to take over our jobs in the future. So these are the 6 that I look at. I'm just showing you this profile for no other reason except to tell you that from about 2000 to current, I know no other job except research and managing that research. And therefore, UNAM will have this portfolio filled by the right person if I am appointed. As I want to unpack, I get on to the first one. The first one, which is about the competitive edge, income. How will I do that? I will move to strengthen the capacity of Research and Publications Office. I know they are doing a great job right now, but I think there is room for improvement. I will introduce the systems approach for grants writing, which I've developed over a 15-year to 20-year period and tested it. It works. I will move on to make sure that we train grants writing champions at each of our campuses, so that things are focused on one person or centralized on one person. that each campus has got capacity. We will need to inculcate the culture of writing competitive grants through an in-house competitive program. I have introduced one at UKZN, which has been a great success. People learn from that rigorous process to then engage into external grant finding. I will, in that, provide funding for responding to large competitive grants. So it's a question of rationalizing the funds that we have. Instead of just distributing them fairly or equitably as people would like, it would be a good idea to identify people who have identified the goal and support them so that we get more money and the university can also get its percentage for overheads. I'm just sharing this with you because I happened to be at the University of Arizona for 4 months last year, just studying their system. And this was just a College of Health Sciences, which can actually be just a department. There were 36 people that were dedicated to assisting people with research grants. So someone will say, this is America, where do you get the money? I can tell you that all these people pay for their salaries because the university is getting more grants, and we can do it. I also want to show you these pictures, which are simply telling that I have been in the business of grants writing workshops facilitated in various places. On the top left-hand corner is at UKZ 2016, grants writing for young researchers. On the right, it's responding to an NRF call, postdoctoral fellows. At the bottom, Nelson Mandela University found me useful, and I help them from time to time. The University of Botswana in 2018 also called me to assist them. And all these initiatives have led to one grant or two. So that can be done. I want to move on to the issue of commercialization.
Prof, you've got 15 minutes left.
In the research to increase the likelihood of the usefulness of research findings, what I call the research fellow concept. We initiate the research together rather than to do the results. We design and evaluate pilot projects and enhance the potential for future replication scale up. We will develop and implement plan for disseminating research findings to key audiences. And I will advocate policy changes that will facilitate the widespread use of evidence-based practices, what I call effective communication with policymakers. We will engage champions to increase likelihood of a new or underused evidence based on practice becoming standard. I'll get back to this one, which I call the Mshanti experience. But I want to talk also about the idea of developing what I call job aids, which will help practitioners to implement new evidence-based policy or guidelines. Finally, replicating and scaling up of interventions that have been proven to be effective. So this is what I would do to address the issue of commercialization. I would say that I'll come back to you on the Shandika issue. What you see on the top is an unlined canal, which the engineer from agriculture was not interested in lighting, and it was a problem to him because it was a cause for disaster transmission. My team and I were able to convince them that they were losing a lot of water which was not for agriculture through seepage. And therefore they had to spend money on lighting it. Eventually they agreed. And what you see on the right is a nice lined canal which is limiting direct access of water for these women, but their livelihoods are continuing. At the bottom, I just want to show you that in my research, I engage with people from all walks of life. We have on the right there the district medical officer and the nurse in charge at the bottom, and you can see me in front at the bottom with a whole community, that's called 300 community members. But lastly, I want to talk about gentleman who is holding a mic, because Matenjwa, impressed by the work that I'm doing in this area, has given land which is bigger than my college of Howard campus here for me to do research in my team, to set up a center of excellence of eco-health. So that's what it means to engage with stakeholders. How do I do it? I'm doing it through the process that I call now eco-problem, which puts our stakeholders in the center. We put a problem in the center and look at it in the context of environment, the society, the economy, and we promote trans-leadership among the other six, what I call eco-problem pillars. What you see on the bottom, we work with our stakeholders from informing them, consulting them, involving them, collaborating and empowering them. I want to talk about the increase in the number of staff. So collaboration with the PVC for academic affairs, we will need to work out a way of supporting those who want to earn higher degrees by giving them teaching replacement, putting them in sabbatical. We set aside special fund to support those academics who want to acquire PhDs. It's not enough to tell somebody to go and get a PhD and you don't support them. We need to put enablers. We need to adopt a approach to facilitate a smooth doctoral program. These people who are doing both teaching and training themselves. We need to facilitate internal and external mentorship for credentialing staff. Moving on to the issue of publication, I would argue, if appointed, for an option to have a doctoral thesis by publication or manuscripts. I managed to do that at UNIZN, the College of Health Sciences, and it's working well. I introduced that at the University of Botswana, and it's working well. And I'm sure it will work well at UNAM.
10 minutes to go, Prof.
To write workshops to campus champions, consider a research productivity incentivization program, and introduce, if not already in place, a postdoctoral fellow program. So I'm showing you again some evidence here, which you can see. Just 2017, 2018, 2019, I had approximately 30 participants attending my 10-day workshops. And I can tell you that more than 95% of the papers are in print. And this is what we need to do to help the young ones to publish. And not only publish, but publish good journals. I want to talk about the increase of UNAM's postgraduate students, which we can do through campus institutionalization enablers for postgraduate students. I have actually designed, using my years of experience, and designed programs at UKZN, supervision workshops for students, proposal development workshops, writing workshops, thesis writing workshops, but not forgetting the fact that getting a PhD does not make you a good supervisor. So I have credentialing program for academics, postdoctoral fellow program. I ran supervision workshops for supervisors. And you can see the evidence there. On the left, I put 2018 a group at UKZN. The right was working with Professor Jenny Day, who is now retired at UCT, to do a supervision workshop. And I visited at the University of Zambia last year to do the same thing, and went to Nelson Mandela University to do the same thing. I can still make sure it's a UNAM. When I was appointed as a research professor, I used this diagram that I'm showing you. The animations won't come up, but I can tell you, I started off with the people that are in purple. These are colleagues that were linked to me individually, and I've just chose a few months for clarity. But after a while, I realized it's not enough to work with individuals. So I put a ring around there. So that ring has made it possible for them to collaborate among themselves and to collaborate with me. Therefore, it's no longer about me, it's about us. And this is what I would expect professors to do at senior academics. Now, in summary, as I get towards the end, I want to highlight that I would like to inculcate ideal ethos of higher education institutions at UNAM. This is a great thing. Research ethos are trending. When I was at Johns Hopkins as a Fulbright scholar, I was impressed by how lecturers how professors are interested in their students' work. But when I come to Africa, I find that the interest is not so much the same, but I know we can do it. I would like to step up the engagement with stakeholders and our clientele, improve the quality of masters and doctoral graduates, increase the response programs and industrial demands. I also want to enhance capacity for winning competitive research grants and stepping up postgraduate throughput, particularly for PhDs. We also need to step up the postdoctoral fellowship and mentorship programs. These and other efforts will contribute towards improving our position in the league rankings of universities. I just said that just joining the 16 Arua universities, these are universities that are highly research intensive in Africa, group themselves and call themselves Arua. I think we can join them if we work hard. That's a good starting point. Sustainability plan, we need to use IP-based solutions to increase efficiency in research, innovation, and development to deliver on the strategies that we want to implement. We need to adopt a long-term focus on being internationally competitive, but ensuring that we remain locally relevant and in demand. And when we talk about fourth industrial revolution, we must remember this second bullet. We can compete internationally, but we must remain locally relevant. We have our population suffering from diseases of the poor. That can be eliminated. So what's the point of jumping on artificial intelligence that is going to tell
Prof, can you hear me?
You are now out of safe zone.
Prof, can you hear me?
30% are suffering. So we need to look at that. We need to ensure that all faculties are able to generate surplus money for reinvestment, and that can be done through large grants acquisition. We need to make
Prof, can you hear me?
Academics than mere consultants.
Prof?
Prof Chimbari, can you hear me?
4 minutes left, I'm taking.
Okay, thank you.
So, I try to do consultancies because research is not incentivizing them enough, and we need to work on that. This is a map that shows you where I've been in the 155 countries of the world. It's 40, but I've been each of these countries more than twice or 3 times. I am well connected. I will use this connection to make UNAM connected. Give you this reminder of my vision, which is to make you research intensive with stronger partnerships with industry for local impact. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Prof. Chimbari. Please stay on the line as we start taking questions from the floor. So we'll try to take the questions real time. And Mr. MC, please assist us. If it's not working real time, let's take 3 questions at a time, and we just read them back to Prof so that he can respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions time?
Three questions at a time, and then we give him an opportunity to respond.
Prof, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We want to see your face, so can you please minimize your presentation and share your camera?
For sure.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, not yet. Okay, just minimize everything.
Okay, let me see. I still can see that my camera is not on. I think I must stop sharing my screen.
Is your camera not disabled?
It's not. know what is happening here. Let me. It doesn't allow me.
Yeah, sure. Because no, this is ours. It's ours.
In the interest of time, I take it that we'll continue with the questions so that we maximize time. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you. I hope the professor can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yes, it's unfortunate. I'm a member of the audience, and my question to you is, I see you have done a lot of work, even collaborating with other neighboring countries, but those countries did not include Namibia, so why didn't you come to UNAM or any other university in Namibia? Why only now?
Do you want me to answer?
Yes.
No, we will take up 3 questions and then Prof will answer them at once. This is the first question. See, there's a hand up at the back.
I have a question about the 6 steps that you propose, many of which, or all of which, depend on human capacity and expertise. Given that Namibia might not have the same level of human capacity as a very populous country like South Africa, how do you seek to get around that challenge to achieve the things that you're proposing? Thank you.
This is the second question. Third question. Prof, I think we are still preparing. Okay.
You want me to respond to those ones?
There is a third question.
Thank you, Prof, for your question. For your presentation. The question that I have has to do with fundraising. I didn't hear much in terms of the funds that you've raised, in terms of whether it's millions there where you are. I'm asking this because the position is at a strategic level. It's not like someone's a researcher on the ground, because on the ground anyone can do what you are doing, and anyone can say what you are saying, but we want to hear at a strategic level as to how much have you raised, for example, in this particular year towards research. Thank you.
You got the last question, Prof?
Yes, I did, about fundraising.
Okay. Over to you.
Okay. Let me start off with the first question. It was about why haven't you been to Namibia? I have indeed been to Namibia. Actually, if you ask your colleagues in the medical school, they will tell you that a year ago, I was at that university in Windhoek, and I spent 2-3 days. I gave a keynote presentation on grants writing, and then I took a group over 2 days of grants writing. It wasn't enough time, but I was there. The purpose of that meeting was to start making the people in that department think of writing grants. So indeed I've been there, and I do have some of your staff that are already there who came through my hands, and they are my mentees. We are co-publishing, we still work together. So I haven't actually excluded Namibia. The second question was about capacity. I think the person who asked the question was saying, perhaps all the good things that I'm doing are because I'm in South Africa. I want to say it's not about that, because we also have got other universities that are well funded in South Africa and are not doing the same. It is about packaging a program that puts enablers that allow people to develop that capacity. So I have, over 20 years, developed certain methodologies. I know if I step in, I'm not going to be a person who is going to be always on the ground, but I'm going to take time to make sure that we capacitate our different campuses and we have what I call training of trainers. And I know if I go at the University of Botswana, if I go at the University of Zimbabwe, if I go at another university in Zimbabwe, I'll find mentees that are coached. That I believe are doing what I can also do. So I don't think it's an issue of resources, it's an issue of commitment and passion to do the work. Coming to the issue of fundraising, I think the person was wondering, what have I done myself? Unfortunately, I didn't show you the slide, but I can tell you that right now, I am part of 3 people who are controlling £7 million across Africa under a program called Nimba, which stands for Tackling Infections to Benefit Africa, with funding from NIHR. I have another grant that I'm currently holding right now, which is to the tune of 3-4 million rands, and that is coming from NRF. I do have other grants that are coming from British Academy. In a nutshell, I can tell you that for the past 20 years, I've never been in a situation where I don't have a grant that is worth $1 million US. And if I get this job, I will now be operating at a much higher level, not a research professor, because I have all the resources at my disposal, all the professors that are there, all the enthusiastic young postdoctoral fellows, lecturers, who will be able to mobilize and raise those resources. So I not talk about things I want to do, I'm talking about things I do every day. I am one of them. Right now at my university, to also show you that it's not a question of South Africa being resourced. I am, in my college, one of those few professors who supplement students' stipend. So our PhD students are given something like 5,000 rands per month to survive. I give mine an extra 5 for my research grants. My postdoctoral fellows are given 15. I give them an extra 10, but I tell you, they run because of that. And this is why I have, on 2 occasions, been on the top 30 researchers of University of KwaZulu-Natal. And we are in 2019 to be the 3rd consecutive year that are now in the top 5.
Thank you, Prof. We have, that was the first round of our questions and answers. We move to the second round. Any questions, follow-up, clarity? We have a hand, 2 hands up. Somewhere here.
Thank you, Prof. You talked much about competition among universities, either locally or at a global scale. But I would also like to hear from you or your thought processes when it comes to collaborations among our local universities. What are your thoughts on that? Because I didn't really see that coming out of your presentations, and what is your strategy on that? Because together we are stronger and we tap on each other's strengths.
You got the question, Prof?
It's about collaboration with other universities, local universities.
Yeah. If you can just enlighten us on that. What is your strategy on local collaborations?
Okay.
There's a second question.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, Professor. My simple question is, you have made a good analysis of saying that maybe UNAM have got to, we are weak in the mentorship, especially at the doctoral level. How can the professor convince us, with your vast experience, you get in the environment where, you know, the number of students who should graduate matters. And then you said you are proposing by publication, so graduation by publication. What about if you get the resistance that people say, no, but maybe that will affect our throughput for our post-doctoral graduation? How will you overcome that challenge? Thank you.
You got the question, Prof?
I got the issue about thesis by publication, but there was also an issue of research mentorship.
Thank you. Last question.
Afternoon, Prof. I just wanted to find out if you have a strategy to propose towards research time allocation in an environment when there is high demand for teaching.
Say that again, please.
Is there a strategy you are able to propose to us on research time allocation to staff whose teaching time demand might be a lot?
Yeah, I got it.
Over to you, Prof.
Thank you. So the issue of collaboration, I think this is actually a weakness of many people, that they do not want to work outside their comfort zones. And I think it starts with actually crossing over to another faculty and work with them. It also starts off with identifying a call, and you will notice that most of the calls that are coming now, for instance, there was a call that was called the Erasmus call. And I will tell you that I partnered with the University of Namibia and Namibia University of Science and Technology, UKZN, and the University of Western Cape. So I was able to use my own research funds to bring them to South Africa so that we could work together to respond to the call. So the issue of collaboration with other universities, I can tell you that all universities, all people in other universities are willing. We are just not approaching them. And we are probably not responding to big grants. Because it is the big grants. There's no one who can want to work with you from another university if you are all gaining around $50,000 US. You've got to talk about millions. I'm currently involved in an initiative of 6 countries, and we are aiming to get 20 million euros. Those are the kind of projects that you can never do as an individual or as one university. So it is possible to do that. It's just a question of reaching out to your colleagues and getting connected. But most important, it is not to communicate through emails. That's why in my presentation I said we need to set funds to support those that have got big ideas. So when you have big ideas, you should do cost sharing and bring those people together. The issue of research mentorship. So we have a challenge on both sides. So there are professors who say that, well, I cannot go to somebody and tell them that I want to mentor you. They should come to me instead. We also have got professors that say, well, this so-called potential mentee is full of themselves. They think they know it all. And on the other side, you do have also mentees that have prematurely self-actualized, and they don't see the need to be mentored. And we also have got a misconception about what mentorship is. I currently have got many mentees. These are people who just want to hang around with me and do things the way I do. I don't support them always on academic matters. Some of them just say, we want to know how you have gone through your research career and gone through all these institutions, because they would like to do that one day. So I have a way of staying around with them and discussing these issues. Some are more academic. So what we need to do is to formalize it. So we have 36 professors. I just showed you a ring of one research professor myself. So we need to put it in research professors or in professors or senior academics performance management packages that they should have mentees, because when you become a professor, one of the requirements is that you take leadership, academic leadership. So how do you become an academic leader when you are just serving your own interests? So we need to take care of that. The issue of thesis by publication, I'm glad you mentioned it. I do expect resistance. Where I've implemented it, there's always been resistance. But eventually, when you engage people in earnest, they will see the benefits of going thesis by publication or thesis by manuscripts. This is why we have thesis by manuscript as a transition to thesis by publication. For the thesis by manuscript, you don't need to have published all of them, but you need to have submitted them to a journal. Thesis by publication says everything must be published. So we make a transition, and what I did at UKZN was to say, no, those that have already started and are doing the traditional thesis, continue doing that. We will still support you. But after I've done this 4 years ago, right now I can tell you everyone in the College of Health Sciences at UKZN is submitting a thesis publication. So it's possible, and we have to be patient, but that's part of my job, sway people. There is the issue of teaching workload. So this is really a tricky one, and it is one that doesn't entirely lie in my portfolio because it struggles into the portfolio of PVC, academic affairs, and the deans. And this is something that we need to take out to see if we are able to create space for people to be able to do research. That's why I talked about issues of sabbatical, issues of contract leave, so that people are able to have time to do research. We know an academic has to do teaching, has to do research, and has to do community engagement. So we need that balance. And I think also one thing we could do is to do what UKZN has done. There are some people who are really good researchers and not necessarily good teachers. So we can change and say somebody is having more time for research than for teaching, and another one is having more time for teaching than research, and we complement each other. So it's a negotiation, those that are in charge of what to do.
Thank you, Prof. Any other questions before we hand over to the chairperson? One question? Two questions?
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for your presentation, Prof. My question specifically relates to the fact that your presentation focused a lot on research. And when I look at the job, the portfolio for this job, it also includes innovation. And I was wondering, your reflection on all the on all the questions that were asked so far relies a lot on your research experience and the strategies that you will apply to meet the requirements for this portfolio. You made brief mention to the fourth industrial revolution and also technology. So I would appreciate if you could please unpack your strategies to integrate technology and innovation in the fourth industrial revolution, or we already speak about the fifth industrial revolution within this portfolio. Thank you.
Second question. Prof, you got that question?
Yes, I did. It's about innovation and technology. It was technology versus, what was the last bit?
Prof, it's with regard to the integration of technology and innovation and what strategies you will implement to meet the portfolio for this job, because it's not just about research. That just in short. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is coming from Daniel. It's all about that you partially presented the SWOT analysis, and I understand you mentioned the strength and the weakness and the opportunity that you may have for being an RID. So my question is, how about the threat? What are the threats you may expect or that may jeopardize the opportunity for you to implement your mission and vision as a Pro-Vice Chancellor? Thank you.
Okay, I got that. It's about the threats.
Yes. Any other question? Because I think this will be our last round of questions, given the time. Good. Prof, over to you. I think those were the only two questions we have left for this afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yes, the component of innovation is very important. And I think the issue of innovation now comes in our relationship with industry. You remember I mentioned the connection with industry. So when we work with industry partners, we should be able to, first of all, we will be able to identify patentable research. So we have a unit that would have to deal with identifying research work that has got potential for patents. And we know that it's going to cost us money, and also it's going to delay publishing our research findings. But that's one way of doing it, growing small businesses within the institution. Furthermore, there was an issue of the fourth industrial revolution. So my view on technology and innovation is the fact that we need to identify the technology that is out there and see how it applies in our local environment, rather than to just adopt things that are coming in. In other words, to achieve this, we really need to work with partners that are in technology development and those that are in more of applied research in order to come up with solutions. Now we can match technology development and innovation. Coming to the issue of threats. So the number one threat that faces UNAM is appointing the wrong person. Because then you are stuck with that person for 5 years. So I think that's the number one threat. Number two is the other universities. I mentioned that there are many competitors. We have got, some moonlighting higher education institutions that are coming up as private institutions because education is becoming a business. So those can be to us. Because first of all, they might take some of our students, and that's income that we are actually going to lose. Because we know that sometimes people have got a misconception that going to a private institution, you get better education. And therefore, those that actually can afford to pay are going to run away from us, and we remain with those that are being assisted by government. So that's a threat. We need to implement what I call stick factors. Let people that are with us stay with us forever and minimize the factor. So the other competition, also the threat, is the fact that in the region itself, we have other competing universities, and we are competing for the same grants. And therefore, we need develop capacity. So our biggest threat is failure to develop capacity that gives us a competitive edge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your presentation, and thank you also for availing yourself this morning, this afternoon. That brings to closure our second part of this recruitment and selection process. We will be contacting you soon for the last part of our recruitment process. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the fact that I was given this great opportunity. Thank you very much to all those that attended. It's unfortunate that the camera is not working well, but I thank you very much for your support.
Excuse me, Prof?
Yes?
Before you go, we need to see you. So what you can do is just hang up and just make a video call again.
I will.
Okay, just do that.
The idea is just to thank Prof officially so that we see you.
Okay, I'm moving fast to do that.
Okay. Just hang up and just go again.
Colleagues, the second candidate is ready. As soon as we're done with the process, we will continue. Thank you.
Hello, Prof?
Hello?
Did you enable your camera?
I think I did. It's on. Unless something is happening there, because on my side it says here.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Can you see the UNAM logo?
I can see you, but can you see me? You can't see me?
We can't see you.
Oh, how can that be? Let's see the things that are happening on this camera. Okay, let's see. It says here, camera device changed. We're not having any joy here.
Okay. No, it's okay, Prof.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, colleagues. Yeah. The screen is so appetizing. Colleagues, the second candidate will now be coming up front, and let's all expect Dr. Indongo, Professor Indongo. Thank you, Prof.
Just hold it for now. This one.
Yeah. Okay. Formatting ngai ku tora Namanga kwa saidi shoka. Ningamanga formatting ninge notes minimize.
You should minimize it.
Yeah, minimize. And then right click. But this one does not have it.
So you want to have your notes wait
on
in your
the slide,
on
yeah.
the slide. How about this? This one last page. I don't want them to show you. Okay, can you even start with this one?
What is it?
Huh? Yeah, no. I just want to test something.
Good afternoon, Prof. Ndongo.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you ready for us?
Thank you. I am ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Prof, you have 30 minutes for your presentation, and afterwards we'll open the floor for questions, and we'll also have 30 minutes for question time. And if you are ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hope it is on. Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, members of the committee, dear students and staff members. As introduced, my name is Nelago Ndongo. I'm going to give you a presentation on my vision on the roles and functions of the Office of the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Development towards providing efficient and effective services to the University of Namibia. My presentation is centered around the theme, Research in Africa for Global Competitiveness. This is the outline of my presentation. I will briefly introduce myself, and then highlighting some achievements, and then give you a snapshot of the SWOT analysis for research, innovation, and development at our institution. Then I will detail the way forward and my vision for research, innovation, and development, and the strategies that I'm going to use to ensure that through the Office of Research, Innovation, and Development, we provide effective and efficient services to the entire university. I will then conclude by giving you some highlights of my first 100 days in the office. Who am I? I grew up in a family of 8 siblings in a rural village in the northern part of Namibia. I did and participated in all household chores. A young girl of my age at that time was expected to. However, as a firstborn, I was introduced to leadership at my early age because I had to guide my siblings and taking the lead in household chores. That is my upbringing. Academically, I grew up in an academic environment. It is the University of Namibia that has molded me and shaped me to the person I am today. Having served at this institution for the past 21 years, and 12 of those I have served them in the management at the faculty and later at the research center. That opportunity has equipped me with the skills to work with academics at different levels and also to work with the people from different backgrounds. It has also given me the opportunity to practice my leadership skills. Through the 12 years of my leadership, I was also awarded opportunity to be very much familiar with the research and innovation issues at a national, regional, and global level. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the alumni of the University of Namibia, University of Southampton, UK, and the University of Pretoria. As much as I am an academic, I am a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, but above all, I'm really just human. To give you a sense of my ethos as a research leader, in the journey of my career, I am inspired by the words of Jack Welch, who once said, and I quote, "When you become a leader, success is all about growing others," end of quote. When I became part of the UNAM management over a decade ago, I have provided transformational leadership, which has seen the department and the center expanding its national, regional, and international footprints, universities worldwide. Through those engagements, partnership and collaboration, we increased the research output at the center where I was responsible to give leadership. We increased our scientific publications from less than 100 scientific publications to over 400 scientific publications during my tenure. I have also seen advancement of staff members who served under my leadership. 95% of staff members at MRC, where I served as a director, have advanced from one level to the other level, to the next level. Most of them completed their postgraduates, attaining the masters, and some PhDs. And we emphasized on collaboration with the faculties. Through that collaboration, we really mentored and jointly supervised close to 80 postgraduate students who completed their masters and PhDs. This is the effort of teamwork and people who I provided the transformational leadership. Through the partnership and the collaboration that we established, I was part of the team that participated in mobilizing resources. And we mobilized close to 400 million for research equipment, and for capacity building. 60% of this amount was really dedicated for research at the University of Namibia. Of course, I'm saying 60% because when you are in partnership, you are in a consortium of different universities, and when you win maybe a grant that is worth 10 million, you have to split according to the research activities. We participated in such activities. Foundations like Carl Schlatvein, Novartis, Bill and Melinda Gates, they really financially supported our research activities. Institutions also like the European Union, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, UNFPA are some of the organizations also that provided financial support to our research activities. I also facilitated researchers to work closely with public offices and private institutions. And through those partnerships and collaborations, we mobilized resources for research and innovation activities. That's why you had news of prototype development, product development that happened through MRC, who head of herbal teas, herbal medicine for perhaps malaria, value addition to our traditional mushrooms, and many others. So those are some of the activities that we initiated. I have not only been, as I said, providing leadership, but I have really been part of the team. I have been also been accountable to the goals that we have set. I have over 50 publications, and as I said, I have supervised masters and research students. I have also won grants through NRF, through the joint calls, and many others. From the environment scan of our institution, this is where we are. Of course, the university has an advantage of holding the highest the highest concentration of brain power in the country, with the staff complement of about 1,600. 600 of those are PhD holders and 130 professors. We have the required capacity to make UNAM shine on the global map of universities. However, we cannot really ignore the fact that we are challenged, especially by the inadequacy of research and innovation infrastructure, low scientific publications when we compare with other universities, and also funding. Nevertheless, I do not really want us to look at this as weaknesses per se, but to use them as opportunities to think beyond. I will later get to some of these in the presentation. The vision of the University of Namibia, colleagues, it is clear. To become a sustainable international hub of higher education, training, research, and innovation by 2030. This vision is well aligned to national and international aspiration. And it gives us an indication that the university is in the right direction to become the research-intensive university. I commit to be part of the team that is pushing to achieve this vision. And through the office of the PVC REIT, my vision will be to make research, innovation, and development a catalyst for competitive, innovative, and collaborative research towards UNAM's sustainability, supporting the vision of our university on our journey to 2030. The focus will be on promoting translational research, innovation, and enterprise development. How do we get there? The strong foundation is laid. We have policies in place. We have the structure that is defined. We have processes that are also in place. Notably is the creation of inceptors. the commercial arm of the University of Namibia, which will really play a fundamental role in enterprise development, as well as the establishment of the Center for Research for Grant Management and Project Services. However, there is need to clearly define our research and innovation ecosystem so that it is well understood, by all academics and our stakeholders. You can see that the components in the research and innovation ecosystem, they are interlinked and dependent on each other. I will briefly go through some of these one by one. With respect to governance and support structure, my role will be to strengthen the research and innovation information process and management. That will be my role. We are in the world of technology advancement, and we need to ensure that our university maximizes on the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution.
15 minutes
as much as possible, yes. As much as possible. One of the initiatives that I will introduce is the e-research management system. The e-research management system. It will be a comprehensive system that will make our service more efficient and effective. I specifically want to highlight one component in that system, which is the electronic process and the management of ethical approval, ladies and gentlemen, which has been a challenge to all of us. We need to do away with the paperwork as much as we can, because we need to be cost effective. We need to ensure efficiency. Who wants to be following up on lost envelopes sent as far as Katima Muriro, Rundu, and Ogongo campus? Or who wants to be doing countless phone calls to ask whether the committee has sat or not? My vision is to see researchers as far as Katima Murilo, Rundu, Kietmans, Hentis Bay, uploading and submitting their applications of ethical approval while in the comfort of their offices. And then they are allocated the ID number, which they can use to track progress of their application through a well-coordinated and managed electronic system at departmental level and at faculty level. On the other hand, dear audience, why should we struggle to form research groups at this university, even within the institution itself? Why should we struggle to find research partners to put up a grant proposal when we have the brain power across all the campuses, the 12 campuses in the 8 regions? One of the initiatives that I will hit the ground with is the mapping of UNAM's research skills by ensuring the development of a database of skills inventory. A database of skills inventory. The purpose is really to match the available skills that we have to specific research and innovation calls as they come. And as academics, it is really important that we know each other in terms of the skills that we possess. That way, we will be able to market each other and also make referrals. So a database is really needed. Research partnership and collaboration. I was fortunate enough, dear colleagues, a week ago to have attended a conference in the UK, which looked at how universities or institutions of higher learning can play their part in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. And at that conference, partnership and collaboration were really emphasized. Institutions were discouraged to work in silos because there are global research groups that are being formed, and institutions are encouraged to be part of those research groups. UNAM will not be left out on this initiative. I have started discussions with discussion with the Association of Commonwealth Universities Network on Sustainable Development Goals for UNAM to champion some research clusters. Be on the watch out. Research and innovation excellence, yes, it's also a component in our ecosystem, and currently among the top 200 universities in Africa, the University of Namibia is ranked 39. The target is for UNAM to be among the top 20 universities in Africa by 2024. My role is to ensure that opportunities are in place for co-authorship with the researchers from top global universities and to improve the quality of our publications. Similarly, the Global Innovation Index ranking for Namibia shows a downtrend. This is not a good news because we strive to be at number 80 by 2022. But currently, we are at number 101. This is a call for us at the institution of higher learning to ensure that we come up with the strategies to reverse the trend. And my strategy will be to focus on innovative research and product development, especially from natural products that we have as resources in this country. Postgraduate and postdoctoral are equally important. Currently, postgraduate enrollment constitutes less than 10% of all student enrollment, and we have to increase this to 30% if we are to become a research-intensive university. And the partnership and collaboration that I have just referred to will make us get there. Resource mobilization is a collective effort. Resource mobilization is a collective effort. Apart from mobilizing resources from grants and commercial commissioned research, my focus will be to capitalize on the fourth stream income. The fourth stream income. Namibia, we know, is rich in natural resources. Some of you will agree with me. When we were growing up, we never had access to snacks that kids are enjoying nowadays. We relied heavily on our natural products like embe, imina shakati, and many others indigenous fruits. It is time now. It is time now to look at these resources as not only traditional or indigenous, but we need to add value and develop products from these resources that can reach the market and make income for the university through patenting, and also through intellectual property rights registration. We need to do that. If the university is not taking the lead, who is going to do it? I am a fan of listening to national radios. I'm sure that it is also happening in other national radios. There are programs where they are marketing forever living products and so on, selling products from natural resources from other countries. Why not? And we buy this. People buy this. Why not from our own natural products? Why not from our own natural products? So that will be my focus. The office of the PVC REIT will play a major role on this type of research and innovation initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned that we are challenged by the inadequacy of facilities and the infrastructure, but we need to pool resources together with our partners, with our collaborators. We have to establish industry, academia,
Prof, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, partnership to enable us to do quality research and develop, of course, products that can make income for the university. The first 100 days are the most important in the new job. I commit to focus on 3 aspects. Of course, engaging with stakeholders, researchers across all the faculties, all the campuses, and explaining the vision for the office in detail and how the office will heavily rely on their expertise and their commitment for research and innovation to move on. The skills mapping and the e-research management system that I just earlier mentioned are also some of the initiatives that I will hit the ground with, as this will make the office provide efficient and effective service to the entire university. Thirdly, I will also capitalize on the low-hanging innovation outputs that are developed from faculties and centers, and they are ready for commercialization. It is my role to engage in sectors and discuss how to find the market and how to go about the business development so that these efforts of researchers bear fruits for the university. I also intend to commission a committee to conceptualize 2 potential commercial projects. For example, how can we innovatively utilize our farm during boom to generate income for our university? It will be on my table during my first 100 days. Ladies and gentlemen, Director of Proceedings, members of the Search Committee, I want to end my presentation by assuring you not to look further. I am here, I am ready and committed. I am committed to become an ambassador and a champion of the University of Namibia's research, innovation, and development activities. I commit to leave no one behind in this journey. Despite the economic hardship, I stand by the words of Jim Dean, an American actor, who once said, and I quote, "I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. End of quote, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Indongo, for your presentation. We now open the floor for questions. Director of Ceremonies, we're going to take 3 questions at a time, and then we give Prof. Indongo the opportunity to respond to them. Thank you.
Question time. Hand up somewhere here. Yes, go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Indongo, for your presentations. My question is based on starting with that. One of the weaknesses that you mentioned is regarding about the lower publications, especially in reputable journals. Now, from my experience, exposure, and so on, I understand that the main things, and usually publication came through postdoc training and research. So my question is, how are you gonna, within your 100 days in, your, in the office, where will you start? Because I know, of course, here at UNAM, we don't have, if we have, but we don't have postdoc researcher at our university. So I just want to know, how would you deal with that? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. That's the second question. I hope you got the first question.
Thank you very much, Professor Nilago Indongo. It was very enticing presentation. Thank you very much. But my question is, as you heard from Professor from KwaZulu-Natal, no, I'm referring to, she can hear.
Can you ask your question? Don't make reference to other things that has nothing to do probably with your question. What is your question?
My question is actually about the University of KwaZulu-Natal. That university is actually...
Go ahead with your question that you are posing. Go ahead.
The University of KwaZulu-Natal is based on their funding is based on the research output. What I want to know is that, how are you going to incalculate your strategy in order to utilize on the research output so that the funding of our institution can be based on the more the research output? As you have mentioned that 400 of people so far in your tenure at the MRC have contributed to that, but how are you going to make it so that the funding, or convince even the government and other researchers funding can contribute so that we can have more funding based on the research output? I hope you understand.
Did you understand the question?
I will try.
Okay. Or you want to ask a question? Okay, thank you very much.
Prof, thank you very much for your beautiful presentation. I was captivated especially by your innovative idea of the electronic management system, seeing that I'm working at the library and we basically deal with this on a daily basis. Yours is innovation to ethical clearance. You want to come up with an electronic research management system database. My concern, however, is that Prof has been in this position as a director for MRC for a couple of years. I want to understand how this new position that Prof is proposing or applying for is going to create that
possibility for you to make this dream come true when you have basically been sitting at the same position for quite a long time with this idea? How is this new position going to change or give you extra ability to carry out this dream? Thank you.
You got the question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are the three first questions for the first round. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much for the questions. I will answer the question on the first 100 days and how I will make sure that the issue of postdoc is handled. Yes, Doctor, you are right. When I indicated during the presentation that I will focus on three things. First is to engage stakeholders, academic staff, students, stakeholders in the public and private sector, including the industry. This is one of the aspects that we are going to discuss. You have seen in the presentation that postgraduate training and postdoc form is one of the most important components in the ecosystem. When I advocate about the vision and the strategy that we have come up with, postdoc is really one of the issue that we are going to handle by engaging the stakeholders, especially when we are talking about academia industry partnership. It's one of the topics to be discussed, how those specific problems in the industry sector can be addressed through our postgraduate and our postdoc programs. We can have people attached to industry who are trying to solve some specific problems in the industry. The second one, I think it is related to research output and how it can perhaps be part of the funding formula. I have a slide where on resource mobilization. Unfortunately, we do not have a funding formula which is focusing only on research or research output. But what I'm going to emphasize when I get in the office is really to negotiate and have a discussion with the government on the allocation of 1% of our GDP allocated to research and innovation. That is an amount that is going to help us improve the research and the innovation activities in the country. The 1% GDP allocation to research and innovation. So the commitment should be from the government so that we get that to form part of our budget at the institutions of higher learning. Of course, we will then take it from there to learn from other universities how we can use research outputs, research and innovation output in the funding formula for research activities at the institution of higher learning. And we have platforms to bring up these ideas, engagement with the NCRST, which is the commission responsible for mobilizing research activities or research resources in the country, as well as the Higher Education Council. We can have discussions on that. The third question is really how would I go about ensuring that the system, the e-research system, management system is in place when I have been at the position for over a decade. I have not been a PVC. I have held the position of the director. I was given the responsibility to provide the leadership at the research center. Of course, we have come up with the initiatives that we have done as collaboration with the faculties in terms of taking research forward. But the system that I'm referring to is really a comprehensive system for the university, because I have just observed that there is need for us to do away with the paperwork, and we have now a lot of activities happening in the area of research and innovation. We talk of publications, we talk of grant management, and so project services, and all these should be interlinked under one system. And that is my focus as PVC for the university.
Second round of questions. Any questions? I see there's a hand up here.
Thank you, Prof. Ndongo. My question is, you want to increase the ranking of UNAM on the global ranking scale, which looks at publications as one of the items. Do you think it is important for UNAM to develop a database of recommended journals for its academics to publish in, and why? Is it important for UNAM to develop a database of recommended journals in any of the fields to publish, and why?
You took note of the question, Prof? Thank you. Second question.
Hello. Prof. Ndongo. Thanks for the challenging presentation that you have done this afternoon. You have raised very good point, which is leadership. And I believe without leadership and quality leadership, we will not be anywhere in the world, neither at this university. There are challenges at the university here, and I believe you might have what it takes. I believe we have a serious problem in terms of attracting, retention, collaboration strategies, and leadership. Now, I do not, you have mentioned transformation now, leadership. I do not know whether that is your leadership style, or what is your leadership style. In terms of, you have mentioned also another issue of product development. I believe you may share some of the stages of development stages, new product development stages, because you are going to introduce now strategies, new strategies. So I believe there are stages that we need to be developed. And you have been talking about promotion. Basically, you are going to promote the university in terms of research and etc. Now, you have seen the university at various occasions being in newspapers everywhere, or not yet promoted. So in terms of getting out of those demarketing strategies,
Mr. Murray, help us to get to the question so that the other part can be addressed later.
Help us to get out of key marketing strategies that we are seeing outside of not being the university of choice. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 3 questions in one. So I presume that you have taken note of the 3 questions in one. Any other question? Thank you. Okay, there is one, and then we can answer those 5 questions.
Thank you, Prof, for your presentation. I have one question. When NCRST was established, we were of a view that it was going to be emulated on the NRF in South Africa. But up to now, we haven't seen it living to that expectation. The question that I have is on the problem that we face as academics, and it's well placed in the office of the PVC-RID. The issue to do with incentives for staff members when they do research, it doesn't exist in this country. What is your plan in terms of unlocking that opportunity for academics so that when they publish, they get rewarded or they get incentivized for them to continue to research more? Thank you.
I saw on a lot of academics' faces that question, they started smiling. Prof, over to you.
Thank you for the questions. I will try to see if I have captured them. The global ranking, whether there should be a database for recommended journals. A database for recommended journals. My answer to this is that as academics, we are aware that there are journals that are not credible, and we have to take recognition of this. Whether there should be a database or not, the emphasis should be for researchers, for academics to publish in journals that are credible, and sometimes they are also accredited, and where your publication will make an impact towards the ranking of the University of Namibia. And I think we know a number of these. Perhaps it's not really for us to come up with the database. We have freedom in academics, but the emphasis is on publishing in credible journals where your publication is making an impact towards the ranking of our university. Leadership. Okay, Tatemule. There are so many questions. Leadership. When you provide leadership, when you are entrusted to provide leadership, the focus should be on institutional goal. Whether there are challenges where there are misunderstandings, these misunderstandings should take into consideration that we are here for a common purpose, to sustain the institution and to achieve the set goal and attain the vision. The marketing strategy. I have talked about, of course, adding value addition and product development. This is the role of us as academics. We have scientists who can add nutritional value. We have social scientists who can assess maybe the societal value. We have economists who can assess also the market value, demand. Our role is to make sure that we have come up with these products, but we are not the ones to market them. That is why I emphasize that in SEPTAS, the foundation is laid correctly, whereby in SEPTAS, which is the commercial arm of the university, should be the one playing a fundamental role in enterprise development, ensuring that these products, which researchers found to be commercializable and benefitable in the communities, in the nation, should find a market. So that is the process. We will really engage researchers and academics to make sure that we have done our part and we have come up with these products and channel them through inceptors. Those are the stages. Thank you. We have a question on incentives. Incentives. Yes. Prof, you are right. This has been a debate for a long time. The way I look at it is from the angle of the 1% GDP allocation to research and innovation. That is where we have to start. If we get our budgets being supported by that allocation, where the university will also benefit, then that will give us room to think of course, incentives, because currently, with the current financial situation that is facing the NCRST, the operational structure and the daily activities does not include incentives of researchers. But I'm not saying that it is off the books of the NCRST. We are working towards really that. We are working towards finding solutions on how to incentivize researchers through publication outputs. We have a format at the university, of course. We have started at a small scale, and the plans are there to upgrade those incentives. Currently, we have systems that are running for best researcher, early career, and so on. We start small, and we are to achieve the big ones, of course, in future. But my emphasis really is on the 1% GDP allocation to research and innovation. That is the one which is going to benefit the university in terms of funding, research, and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any other questions? I see there's a hand up there. And in the interest of time, I see the chairperson is. Given the limited time, I'm advised not to further this engagement from here onwards with questions. So let me give over to the chairperson.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ndongo, for your presentation. And thank you for coming through to the second stage of our recruitment process. There is a third stage, and we will contact you so that we can facilitate that process. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the third candidate is ready. Okay. Just a second. We can just stand up and relax a bit the muscles where you are. Yeah. Please, we still have 2 presentations. Let's not go too far. We will start in the next 3 minutes.
Want to use this one, the roaming one, or the podium one?
Can I take it off quickly? I saw that there was an error. Hey. How are you? Thank you so much.
Okay, can you just look at it? Start displaying it. Just let me know when you're ready.
then if you want me to, I use the buttons.
Yeah.
Okay. This one and this one.
This one or this one?
Okay, use both.
Both of them are fine.
Yeah, both of them are fine. This one,
For mobility, you can use this one. Stationary.
Okay.
Okay, can we try taking our seats?
Do you have any water?
What? Yeah, I'll get you what.
Thank you. Is somebody introducing me?
Sorry? Yeah.
Is somebody introducing me?
Yeah, they will tell you. Either you want to use this one or this one, just
Yeah.
both it are on.
How are you? Good, good, good. You're better than me. Yeah. Yep. Sorry?
Thank you for your patience, and we will proceed. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Professor Peters. Welcome to the second part of our recruitment and selection process. All that we expect from you this afternoon is to deliver your presentation on your vision. And if you can do that within 30 minutes, we'll appreciate that. So 30 minutes for your presentation, and then 30 minutes is reserved for questions. And if you are ready, we are ready. We can start now.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, colleagues, students, the media, everyone watching online. And thank you so much once again for this opportunity. Today I'll be speaking about my vision on the roles and functions of the Office of the Pro-Vice towards providing efficient and effective services towards UNAM. My name is Anisha Peters. I will be speaking briefly about myself, since you don't know me, the changing role of the university, my vision, and then finally I will conclude. About me, that's me up there. And good luck counting how many girls there are. I'm an executive dean of a faculty at NUST. I'm also an associate professor in computer science. I've also been awarded a UNESCO research chairship in gender and digital technologies. I'm the vice chairperson for the Namibia Qualifications Authority, and I'm also on the council of the NCAG. Furthermore, for the umbrella body for computing, I'm on the Gary Marston Student Development Fund. I'm a WHO consultant, and I have various other roles. I did a postdoc at Oregon State in the US. I did a PhD and an MSc at Iowa State in the US. I did my undergrad degrees at the time, Polytechnic of Namibia. Yeah, I was born in Rehoboth, not far from here. So I'm nothing exotic from somewhere else. I won several awards. Interesting is just I got 2 Boeing awards for research excellence. I also received an ISU Research Excellence Award for my research contribution was counted amongst the top 5% in the university. I have 29 years of experience, 12 of those are in academia. I've gone through from research assistant right through to associate professor without skipping any of the steps. That's my research profile up there. I've also served on university committees, like I've chaired the committee for the supervision and examination guidelines for master's and PhD degrees at NUST, and then I've served on workload committees, etc. I've also chaired international conferences, 3 of them. One of them is the forthcoming Data Science, AI, and Machine Learning Conference. And then down there is just a little bit more about what I do. Professional profile. I've established those since I assumed the deanship position in 2015. I've opened a Center of Excellence in IT, a Tech Innovation Hub, an Oracle Certification Center. We've just rolled out a new curriculum in line with the 4 of 5 IR. And then we're the in-region center for the DAAD. This was sort of under my leadership that this happened. Personal in funding, this is only a fraction of what my faculty brings in. Between 2016 and 2019, that is not counting all of the student funding, I've brought in about 21.5 million. I've also provided or secured support for 150 students across Africa, because my work is not only in Namibia, it's across Africa and it's international. 60 of those students were from Namibia. I have some noteworthy projects that I won't mention. These are some of my partners and funders from whom I have secured funding. And again, this is not representative of NUST, but of myself. And these are visiting professorships that I held at various universities. Enough of me. Let's talk about the 4th Industrial Revolution. 4th Industrial Revolution essentially requires us to change the way that we think and that we've operated until now. I would say it's business unusual, but I would have to cite the president on that, because I think that is what he was saying. But nonetheless, we cannot do business as we've been doing it up to now. The role of universities are being challenged increasingly. It's challenged on research, it's challenged on development, and it's challenged on teaching. And how do you do all of these? Now, traditionally, we pursued research to sort of produce new knowledge or extend existing knowledge. While that is still true, it's not enough. So we need to apply a paradigm shift and apply this new knowledge creation to the creation and development of new artifacts. And those artifacts can be services, it can be methods, it can be new products, it can be in your home, it can be in industry, it can be anywhere. We have to harness the power of technology for newer insights and to create those niche areas. You will find that in Namibia, we have quite a lot of opportunities. There are global researchers who come to Namibia because of our unique climate, our unique landscapes, you know, the unique abilities that even our indigenous knowledge, they come for that here. So, hitherto we had 3 core goals: teaching and learning, research, and community engagement. Yet now we have to add innovation and commercialization. And as you're well aware, Namibia is lagging. In fact, we're slipping every year on the Global Innovation Index. And what are some of the critical factors that we're looking on that we're slipping on? That is, for instance, we are still lagging on full-time researchers. It has been like that for years, and yet we do not do anything about it. We've also been slipping on, for instance, basic education. Higher education was ranked a little bit higher this year, but also on technological innovations. We are lagging behind, and we have to step up. And what better place than a university that is embedded within the fabric of society to actually achieve just that? I believe that the Office of the PVC, Research, Innovation and Development, is best poised to do that. I want to say also that we should be cognizant that we're pursuing commercialization, but we oftentimes base it on international models, on universities in the global north, and we forget about our unique situations. University of Oxford did a case study in Indonesia, and they published the case study on their findings, and they actually found exactly just that. The technology transfer office model as it's established in the global north does not work for us. We have to look at our own context because we have a lot more challenges than what the other universities have. So, my vision is a research and development intensive university responsive to national needs with local and global impact. And luckily for us, UNAM has already quite a good mix of the right ingredients for just that. It is just that we have to enhance and improve what we have. So I'll focus on 7 key focus areas. Number 1, create an enabling internal environment, support research and develop internationally recognized research and innovation talent, ensure national relevance and responsiveness to the needs with local and global impact in line with the demands of the 4IR, promote research excellence, diversification, and ensure impact, obtain external funding, facilitate research and innovation collaborations with partners nationally, regionally, and internationally, development and innovation catalysts. Some people have asked me, why do you have like 7? You must remember that it's almost 3 portfolios that we're looking across. But there are many of them that can be rolled in together. For instance, your talent management can go into an internal environment, but I didn't want it to get lost. And that's why I kept it to 7 key themes. Since the Office of the PVC spans 5 years, I've divided it into a 5-year span. But by year 3, your external funding mechanism should be lined up already and ready to go. And by year 5, your development and commercialization activities should all be lined up. Now, obviously, all of these areas will be developed into measurable targets, and that will then be going through at operational level to faculties, where they will determine how do we achieve it, and we do this together. Now, Number one, the internal environment. And I put that specifically as something that we need to look at, because it's a juggling act. Just imagine that entire mix is what we need to take care of. Now, that mix does not even include our new sort of drive towards innovation and commercialization. It excludes it. It is just the general research environment and frameworks and internal policies and guidelines that we have to establish. That means that a tight ship needs to be run together with finance, together with academia, and we need to come up, for instance, with clear guidelines and frameworks as to what needs to be done, and ensure that that enabling environment, internal environment, is created, because then we will thrive. So, the second circle, this is actually a cocoon, because we want a butterfly to come out of it. The second one is supporting research and talent management. And again, I particularly put in talent management, and I put it separately from an internal conducive environment, because although it forms part, we have to spend a lot more time on this. This is, for instance, making sure that our workload formulas are working correctly. We can have beautiful workload formulas that assigns, like, roughly, usually it's about 30% to research, 10% to admin, and the rest to teaching things. And then, of course, you also have that you have differential workload models, right? Your professors get a little bit more research time, than your juniors, etc. So you have all of those. But is it really working? If it comes down to faculties, and faculties are really struggling, deans and heads of departments are sitting there and saying, hey, we've got to teach X amount of courses. What usually suffers? It's your workload, right? And research is the first one to go, right? And if you don't have a performance management system in place to make sure that the research is actually adhered to and that the research time is spent on what it's supposed to be spent on, it's futile to have even a workload management system. We have to cater, for instance, for postdocs. We have to cater for emerging scholars. Those are the ones with their PhDs. We have to make sure that we buy out the time, the teaching time, to allow them to grow. And with that goes funding as well, because they have to develop their research areas. And that is the only way in which we can cascade upwards to have the researchers that we want. Under the third one, we have to look at, for me, this is a big one. If we concentrate on local needs, remember, we can do the work here. We do not need to go outside. We do not need to take global topics to do research on. We can just look at our local environment and solve those challenges through our research. And we actually publish then internationally, right? We partner with international researchers, and that is how we get that impact. And then we go and publish in high-impact journals, but don't forget about the local ones, because we have to disseminate our research outputs to our local people as well. So there needs to be a dual system of achieving that. We need to pursue, of course, inter- and transdisciplinary research. We have to set up, at times, some research labs that's looking at that in particular, that would look at specific research focus areas. We need all disciplines to make magic. We can't just keep to our silos. With that, I want to say that we have to look at the regions as well. We cannot centralize everything. So we have to go and establish business units, incubators, etc., in all of the regions where there are campuses, and concentrate on what is the strength within that region. For instance, mangoes in Zambezi, right? Watermelons in Kavango, right? Newdam has its own, livestock farming. Then, of course, we can then look at niche areas, and we can define that together with our national objectives for research. But we must remember that we should not curb anybody who wants to pursue research for its own purposes of research or what they find important. But we do have niche areas that we're concentrating on and where most of your resources would be going. I spoke about the rankings already. I believe that if we do everything right, we do not need to do anything else to pursue rankings, because if we publish right, if we teach right, if we collaborate right, the rankings automatically follow. Of course, ICT, we need that for just about everything, but it's an enabler, right? It's not a dictator or on its own. But you can create a lot of visibility for our research, you can use data science, etc. But we need to develop also M&E frameworks for our research. That is especially important to measure our research impact. Remember, research impact is not only measured in publications, it's measured in societal impact as well. Then we are going to external funding. This is one of the key ones. Here, Namibia is supposed to have 1% of the GDP being spent on research, yet we're not there, and we're not going to get there anytime soon. Our government doesn't have money. Where do we get this money? Now, I'm saying that we go to industry and we go and make partnerships with them to sort of give it. Now, there are a variety of ways in which we can do that. We do international collaborations. We do consultancies. We do commercialization. But we also try to find mobilities. We try to find grants. We give student and staff support. Very important. We have to do the homegrown type of capacity building. Moving on to partnerships and internationalization. Again, international collaborations are important. Exchange are important. MOUs. How many MOUs do we have? How many does UNAM have? Many, many. We need to operationalize those. We have to make sure that whatever MOUs we do actually yields value for us. And it needs to be based on equal partnerships. For instance, what we do at NUST is that, actually just in my faculty, is that when we do MOUs, we say, for example, it's a tit for a tat, right? We co-supervise your students, Queensland University, but what you do is you give our students free tuition. That type of partnerships is what we want to see. And then, of course, we have to grow our postgraduate research. And research-intensive universities are known for the fact that they have roughly more or less 40% postgraduate students, because those are the ones who are making the research. They bring in majority of their research funding are from external sources through these grants, projects, etc. And this is what we have to pursue. This is what we have to keep in mind as we're going ahead. Okay, last one is development and innovation catalyst. I've already spoken about, go to the regional campuses and go and develop and set up maker spaces, incubation spaces, business units. Go and set it up in there. Use the local resources within that region to sort of get together and do all of the products that can add value addition for whatever is being produced there. And I call this resource benefits, because resource benefits takes many forms. It's not only money. It could even be just sending out people on industry attachment, or on exchange. And then we have to follow the quadruple helix model. What I want to say is commercialization, and I'm wrapping up. This is the last slide. On the commercialization is very important, but it's not the alpha and the omega. There are different ways of which we disseminate and what we do with our research outputs, right? You can get patents from there. For instance, those we can license in turn. We can, for instance, look at faculty research scouts within faculties who actually act as spies. And they will go and have a look at which ones of these student products or research has actually benefit to be commercialized, or that we can do something else with it. Then the notion of venture labs, to set up venture labs. Venture labs are those ones that handle all of the licensing, IPs, and search for business opportunity, and act as a business unit for your research. In conclusion, so I'm pretty excited at the path that UNAM can actually create for all researchers, regardless of the stage in their career or their discipline. But what we need is entrepreneurial and innovation mindset, and change management is a key component. So I believe that UNAM is best poised to become a leading research and development intensive university in Africa with an impact on the socio-economic conditions and well-being of the Namibian, African, and international society. And after that marathon, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for our questions. Any questions?
Good afternoon, Prof. I just have two small questions. One, how do we ensure that our research, even though funding is coming from external forces, is able to still relate to the Namibian context and answer the challenges that we are experiencing as Namibians? Two, the position for RID is in itself a strategic position of providing vision and so forth. So I'd like to know from you, what is your personal philosophy in terms of human relations? Because at the end of it all is being able to provide that inspirational tone for those within your division to be able to attain your vision. So what's your personal philosophy in relation to that? I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? I'll be with you shortly.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation. My question is, there is a say that says the enemy number one usually is ourselves. Now, you are talking about research and innovation. Namibia, we stand a very good chance to do a very innovative research. But if we look at in terms of our own products, what research that can you convince the University of Namibia will be the starting point such that our public will be interested to buy in it? For example, I think we have wonders that is happening at our UNAM campus, but I don't see that the products getting into the market. And one of my assumptions is that it's just because we don't like our own things. But if it was coming, for example, from South Africa, we are going to say, okay, we want to buy that. What research that we can do that will change mindset of our people, in your own view? Second question, the issue of research and workload. Now you have very innovative ideas, you want to promote research, and the staffs will tell you, but we are overloaded. How are you going to overcome that? Thank you.
Thank you. There was a hand up here. I hope Prof took note of those questions.
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Prof. My question is actually on the observations that I've undertaken concerning the academic part of research and the industry. I believe for any country to develop, there should be a matching effect of the industry as well as the academic. In the industry also, we have academics, but they are not mostly busy with academics activities, but they are also academicians outside there. They might observe other developmental or socio-economic activity which need research. But it is always difficult for them to bring that kind of wealth experience back to the university. Remember, they were at the university. That's why you send them in the industry. But their experience and expertise is now becoming very difficult for them to come back to the academic. What programs do you think that you need to put in place in order to harmonize these two different islands? Thank you so much.
Good evening, Prof. Thank you very much for the presentation. You mentioned the workload at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. And unfortunately, I have to tell you that it's one of the most terrible workload that I have seen. What is your workload philosophy for the University of Namibia, which will have to be very, very different from that of Namibia University of Science and Technology to enable people to do research? Thank you.
I've allowed about 4 to 5 questions. I will take the last one with your permission, Madam Chair, so that we cover these questions once. Thank you. Next round.
Good afternoon, Prof. Peters. Thank you very much for a very enlightening presentation. You touch upon a very important point that I often think that we overlook when we deal in research collaboration and partnerships, and specifically to MOUs. And what you said, like MOUs need to yield equal value. Yes. And I find that very refreshing on your part, because it is something that when we look at research proposals and the various collaborations, I always found that that is a component that really lacks. And specifically in terms of, if you look at research professors, I find that a lot of them, yes, they get us into the research proposals, but it's almost like, and as we know, research serves a means to an end, and is to serve their means to their ends, that they become academic jet setters, and then we don't have the value that we really need, that need to be pumped back into the society. How are you going to turn this around, specifically at looking in depth into various MOUs for collaborative partnerships?
Thank you. Over to you, Prof.
Wow. This is quite a bit. Nonetheless, I will attempt to answer all of them. So the first one has to do with the Namibian relevance of research. For instance, so sometimes, yes, we do get grants in, and I know that. We do get grants in, and then there's like a condition on the grant that only if you do research, let's say in this specific area, then we have, this grant available for you. And in a sense, you're almost like forced to do the research that whoever want. And I know that we have foundations and forums that have a lot of money to give away, but the research areas sort of relates to them. And I will tell you something that I, as a young researcher, was resisting, and a more experienced researcher than me said to me, sometimes what we do is we take the money, we take the topics that they give, and we come and we adapt it to our local context. That way, everybody is happy. Now, in my experience, most of the research that we're seeing, the big themes that we're seeing, there's always a manner in which we can adapt it to our local needs. Now, yes, sometimes it means you have to go look for a client, right? You have to go to Ministry of Agriculture and say that there is this opportunity now for research. Do you have any needs within that area? And that's how we start working together. Because initially, for instance, research on HIV/AIDS, some of our communities that we do research with had told us that please do not bring any grants or people who are doing research in HIV/AIDS. And this is what I also told everyone as a philosophy. We're not doing that. In the end, we spoke to the communities. and we reached a negotiation, let us use it in the way that the community wants it to be used to. That way, we will still, and equal partnerships in research as researchers is important. Never send out your research partners without any of your local researchers, into any type of community. I hope that answers the question. And then there was a question on the, it's a strategic position, human relations are important. What is my personal philosophy? My personal philosophy is, now you've seen a lot about me, right, in those slides. You remember the kids? Did you manage to count them? Now, there's one fundamental thing that I believe in, and I believe in the notion of teamwork, but that sounds cliche. I believe in the notion of a common vision. I don't want you to say tomorrow, let's say if I get the post, this is your vision. You go and do your vision. We're doing your vision. No, let us sit around the table and we all look at the vision and say it's our vision. And once we believe that it's our vision and we have that common mindset and we can see where it's taking Namibia, we can see where it's taking UNAM, at that point in time, we become a team because everything else falls away. Our differences, etc. When we get into the thick of things, and I usually say when we get lost in the woods and we can't see the trees anymore, it's our coming up for air. If we think about what is our common vision, what are we trying to achieve for ourselves, for our kids, for whoever, everything, then that is the point in time, when you actually can breathe. That's the coming out for air. I also believe that in a team, I believe in a systems approach. In a system, for instance, if you have a lot of gears working together, any one of those gears gets something between them or gets stuck or doesn't work anymore, what happens? Everything stops. And that is how it is, right? Every single person within that team, that means every person within UNAM has an essential part, not just, I'm just nobody. I'm just the secretary. Everybody has a part to play and an essential role. That's why you are getting paid, right? Why you are at UNAM. And I mean that you are hired for your skills. And then, let me look at this. Enemy number 1, Namibian innovation. Oh, these are my notes. Okay, so, so I was actually taking notes. You wanted to know if I understood it correctly, you wanted to know what can we sell to the Namibian public out there. Now, we have indigenous knowledge. And let me tell you, when I speak about indigenous knowledge, it cuts across all disciplines. It cuts across everything. I hear this notion internationally always that people are saying, oh, the people in Africa, we need to teach them, we need to train them. And we always say, no, I haven't met a person who is like stupid in Africa, because they always have their own domain expertise. Just like I, as an interdisciplinary researcher, have to have respect for another's discipline. And indigenous knowledge cuts across all domains. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There is a specific way of knowing, a specific way of doing that thing, and you can integrate it. Let's think about precision medicine, which is where we're going. Okay, the other thing that is actually quite popular as well is we have water scarcity. And I always read and hear in presentations, I hear about the notion that, yes, it's water scarce, it's a water scarce country, and we don't know what to do. Let's go to Israel, right? And go and look at what technologies are they adopting. Why don't we go to Israel? But bring them here, partner with them, and say, okay, let us mix our knowledge together with your knowledge, and let us come up with new things. Then I would say, then the newer technologies would work. But just bringing it without thinking about, how does it fit in our context, that doesn't quite work. I also believe that the public out there they kind of like have to be sold, right? They have to believe in you. If they start seeing UNAM actually giving out products that they have developed themselves, and you have visibility for that, then you will see that the public will start coming, and all of the stakeholders will start coming with their own need. You will get a lot of clients, a lot of consultancy requests. I get consultancy requests, for instance, from Germany, from South Africa. You would think those are powerhouses. No, they tell me, you have the software engineering expertise, which we don't have. You have unemployed graduates. We don't have graduates. They all flee to Europe because Europe has a scarcity in certain fields. Right? Then they ask me, can we come set up something because you have all of these people that you profess are on the streets? And then I say, well, we'll have a look. But anyways, but that is just what I mean of pursuing things. As far as products from Noidam, I visited JKUAT, Jomo Kenyatta University. UNAM also has an MOU with them. JKUAT, they sell their, their yogurts, they sell their jams, UNAM has jams. They sell everything right on campus in their kiosks. They sell it in the shops. When I walk down the street to the next shop, I will see something with JKUAT on. I don't see UNAM products. I might just be living, under a rock as far as that's concerned. But let us create the visibility also for our products. I do see those products, by the way, when I go internationally to certain exhibitions. Then I see the whole UNAM brand, and I wonder, why can't we buy this locally? Okay, research and workload. And I want to take that one together with the gentleman who said that NASA's workload sucks. Yes, that could be true as well. Now, as far as workload is concerned, for me, you need to always have a policy, a workload policy. But I spoke about the fact that you need to have like a performance management and a monitoring and evaluation sort of mechanism for your workload. Because even though in paper it says you have 30%, as I said, when teaching load comes, then you get assigned over that 30%. And nobody actually looks at that workload, whether you've actually gotten the research time. Workload models also need to be flexible. And that flexibility, in my mind, or my philosophy is, leave it with your heads of departments. Now, I'm encroaching into the academic PVC's sort of terrain, but HODs also have to manage the research, right? And research time allocation. It needs to be flexible. You know that research goes through cycles, right? So now I have like a lot of things due. My data collection is due. I cannot be in a classroom this semester. You should have the flexibility to negotiate with your HOD and say, this semester, I get a full research load. Next semester, I get a full teaching load. But again, I have to stress, without the monitoring and evaluation, this is not going to go anywhere. On research, on workloads, we also have to remember, I just want to say something, that it's not a one-fit model for all, right? It needs to be differential. Your junior lecturers are not the same as your professors, so their loads will differ. Also remember that even in teaching, we want to do teaching, we want to integrate our research into teaching, right? I mean, we use, for instance, the students from our classes for our research, right? Those are, for instance, sometimes even our research participants. So do integrate it, because it's almost impossible to do pure research without going into the classroom, because that's where you pick up your next talents. On overloads, this is exactly why the university has to get in a system, a mechanism to take, for instance, if we have, let's say we have full-time postgraduate students, why can those postgraduate students not allocate 10% of their time, or 10 hours per week, to go in as research assistants, as teaching assistants? Let us use whatever we have within the university. We're rich on those resources. We are rich with students, for instance, that we can bring in as tutors, and that can actually relieve some of the teaching load. Academic, industry partnerships, the matching effects for industry. Let's look at Okay, so let me just say, how do we create also those type of equal partnerships with industry? One of the things is, for instance, if we start matching, again, this is on teaching and learning, but if you start, for instance, on project-based teaching and learning, you automatically get your industry people in there because they need real-life projects, right? How do they do real-life projects? They do it together with people from industry. There you have a match already, and that comes in. Then people who leave from academia to industry, now industry obviously pays much more, but sometimes they want to have a foot in both worlds. And we should create it. Remember, we were just now saying that people are overloaded. Why can't we use some of our industry experts to come and co-supervise our students, our research students? Why can't they also write with us, co-author publications? Why can't they sort of go into agreements on joint grants with us? Why can they not bring consultancies from outside and partner with us on that? MOUs, equal partnerships, research professors who are becoming jet setters. Should I say what I want to say? What I want to say is that, okay, so let me just put a disclaimer up front. We have different disciplines, and publications happen differently within different disciplines. In some disciplines, you need to publish in a journal. In marketing, for instance, at least in the US, you have to have, for the top journals, you have to have X amount of studies, you know, large-scale studies, before you can even attempt to publish in that journal. In some other fields, it takes long to grow your samples and be able to publish from there. Many of the disciplines still have a journal, or they have a journal sort of publishing model, right? So people publish in journals. However, in certain fields, and this is computer science, and this is in engineering, the publishing model is actually in conferences. And your international conferences, your premier conferences, are the ones where you have the most impact in. Now, you also need to disseminate your results very quickly. So oftentimes you will find that in those, and those are not the only disciplines, but in those disciplines, you have to travel, and you have to go and disseminate those results. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. That journal is going to take a year, and it's not even that high impact, right? So we have to have an understanding sometimes for why certain research professors would be traveling. However, remember that a master is just as good as, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. When your students become better than what the master is, then that is actually when you know you've hit success. We have to, in other words, we have to co-author with our students. We have to co-author with junior faculty. We have to expose our co-authors. We have to expose them to those international arenas. We have to send them. They will not build their professional networks if they just stay here. I was on the Graduate Student Senate. I was in the executive. I was the treasurer for 2 years at Iowa State. And what we did was, for each and every postgraduate student, we paid for once in a year to go to a conference. That's the money that we gave them. They, in turn, would get money. Oh, I'm sorry. The grad college, in turn, matched the funds for the student. In turn, the department would match the funds. They had conditions. You had to have a paper. We said they don't need papers. They can just go to build their professional networks and see what the world of research is like, right? So we can make partnerships, and as international people, there are a lot of types of student support that one can secure to start doing that. But the research professor has to, you know, they have to look for money equally for themselves and for their students and for their junior faculty who's researching with them. Am I done? I'm done.
Thank you. Just the last round of questions.
We only have time for one question, and it has to be very brief, and the answer also has to be very brief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Peters, for your presentation. I have one issue that I want to raise, the paradigm shift when it comes to innovation and commercialization.
Yes.
Very good, we need change. Universities must innovate, otherwise they will die. That's what they are saying. The issue of commercialization that you presented to us, I'm trying to understand the model that you are going to use, strategy or plan, because as we speak now, currently speaking, there is a, through the Minister of State and Enterprise, there is a governance framework that is going to come in. Now, universities or institutions of higher learning, they have been categorized in certain category, non-profit making undertakings. Maybe you can correct me, they probably fall in tier 2. Tier 1 are those big ones that are making money. How are you going to ensure that we really get the government to buy in when it comes to that political will to become self-commercialized so that we can sustain ourselves? Thank you.
That was our last question. Over to you, Prof.
Okay, so the tiering that you're talking about is the fact that universities fall within the non-profit making or non-commercial SOAs. It simply means that we are still getting our money from the Ministry of Higher Education, Training and Innovation. And the pot of money that they receive from government, right, is the pot of money that they're going to be distributing to UNAM, etc. At the NCHE, we actually have the funding framework in place, and under that funding framework, you know, it's like there are a number of factors that go into it, and that determines what we're getting. When the pot of money comes out, however, there is not enough even for what we as NCHE have suggested that should be taken. So, unfortunately, fact of the matter is, the money is going to get less because there's not enough to go around. To get more money, we need to have concerted dialogues with our Ministry of Education, with our Ministry of Finance, with our government to stress what we need. Because I also believe that as much as we want to embark on getting external funding in, third stream and fourth stream funding, it is still necessary that we not only get money for the operations and for the academic side of the university, but research money is very important. And that research money have to sort of almost like ring fence, that we only use it for that. Because your new PhD holders within the university, they need to have seed capital if they come in, and that needs to come from the university in turn from the government. You don't seem satisfied. Why?
Thank you very much, Prof. I hand over to the chairperson.
Thank you so much, Professor Peters. That brings us to the end of this session. Thank you for coming through this morning as well. We will, however, contact you on the last phase of our recruitment process. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, for your patience. We now have our last candidate for the day who will also be presenting, and we shall start shortly. Now is the opportunity for Prof. Alex to make his presentation. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Professor Kanyimba. Once again, welcome. I am right here.
Yes, I'm listening. Where is the speaker?
Right
okay,
here.
It's there. All right. Let me face this direction. All right. Yes.
Welcome. This is the last presentation of the day, but not the final part for you yet. We still have another process to go through. But for now, we expect a presentation delivered in 30 minutes, after which we'll allow for 30 minutes of questions. Is that okay with you?
It's all right.
Are you
Thank
ready?
so much. Yes, I'm going to try my best.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Is somebody going to manipulate this one for me?
I think we can enable you to manipulate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. The chair of the PVC READ search and the VC, thank you for this opportunity. As my name is printed there, I'm Alex Kanyimba, Associate Professor in Education for Sustainable Development. And of course, my presentation actually has got 4 components, and I'm just going to look at some of the strategic parts of my presentation. For example, I'll just talk a little bit my qualifications. This is a postdoc, completed a postdoc, a doctorate in environmental education. I have a master's degree, and then a B.Ed degree, an M.Ed degree, and a B.Ed. And of course, I've got 40 publications, which they are all related to sustainability, to climate change education, to leadership and sustainability, and environmental management. And of course, my experience, my first contact with research management was at the Northwest University in South Africa, where I was appointed by the School for Natural Science Education and Department of Geography Education. And I moved to, because Northwest was actually trying to grow their research outputs as well. They're stable financially, but they wanted to grow their research outputs. I was moved to the research office of Northwest. That's where I actually learned more about research management, research leadership, and so forth. And of course, I worked closely with the director for research at that university, and also the DVC for research, innovation, and technology. So, and then when I came back, I was appointed to the University of Namibia as a deputy director at the Center for Research and Publication, and then that's why I actually at that time there was a STORM project, which is strengthening research, management, and leadership in EU and the SADC University. So I participated in the program, and it's what actually enhanced my understanding of research management. I do work for UNESCO as one of the leaders on rolling out the Sustainable Development Goals and education. And over the last 9 years, I've delivered 11 grants, of which 7 are research-oriented, 3 were development-oriented, no publication there. 3 were delivered at Northwest University, 4 at UNAM, the 2 at SADC, and the 2 at the NGO, and they are all based in Namibia. So these are some of the things that I've done since I came to the Center for Research and Publication. I've participated in the development of the platform for journals. I introduced the pillar, the cross-ref. I regularized the research policy, and also there was an income. We have introduced an income through ethical clearance services. And those are some of the skills which I actually have. Grant writing, which actually comes from my training in the degree of the MSc degree in Management of Sustainability, the management, grant management and evaluation. Also academic writing. I'm also trained there in academic writing at the undergraduate level. I'm trained in sustainability, which is actually based on a triple bottom line, people, planet, and prosperity. That is what the triple bottom line is. And I've got this experience in journal editing as a guest editor, the Journal of Sustainability in Higher Education, Journal of Management and Climate Change Strategies, the Journal of Decolonial Subversion at the University of London, where I was actually appointed recently to be in the board. And then I'm actually qualified also because of my experience in the research office. I know how to assess the journals. Then I have the people skills, where I work on a very simple principle. Whether you are a superordinate or a coordinate or subordinate, once I enter your space or you enter my space, I need to develop you. And that's actually the principle I work with. And of course, if you follow anyone from the education, those who are in education, they know that. Those who are at the CRP, they know that. I make them better, and I work on that principle. Okay, and then, okay, that is how READ drives the mandate. We know about that from the University of Namibia Act of 1992. And then that is the UNAM vision. It speaks very strongly to my training, which is now on sustainability, and also the mission of the university. I'm not going to dwell so much on that one, all those ones we know. And of course, this is where we are. For example, the statistics of last year, I have excluded, when I took these statistics, I excluded, for example, assistant lecturers, technologists, those who are not expected to do high-level research. That's why the number is usually 1,100. So in terms of last year's statistics, the grants that we won, it was 14, which is 1.9. The publication, 149, which is 20%. And those authors at UNAM who keep on writing continuously, there's only 17 out of that 784, and that's 1.9%. And the patents that are filed, that is 23, but I didn't want to work it out because it's not only a Namibian statistic, a UNAM statistics includes Namibia as well. So, and that is 2017. We don't have statistics for 2019. So this is why, for me, you have seen the picture there. It shows that really we need more opportunities for grant. We need a very robust pipeline of funding. We need more academics to be involved. We need more research income. We need to grow the faculty research output. We need more patents, more commercialization, and we need to connect UNAM to industry, government, and community. Okay, and so that is my vision, which is actually to transform the Office of READ as a sustainable, to function as a sustainable academic enterprise by operationalizing the university-wide translational research and innovation that generate income by 2025. So my values are those ones. That's equity, prosperity, partnerships, morality, resource care, strong accountability, and integrity. Those, I live according to those ones. They are, even my publications are actually based on the partnerships. And my leadership model is transformational because I see that with my experience, there are quite a few things some things that need to change. So I believe that transformational leadership is important. There could be some other, but in this context, it's transformational. We need to change the social impact, the social context. We need to change. We need to influence the attitude of and beliefs and the values of the researchers to a point where they're able to deliver on the goals of the university. Okay? So that is the concept of research-focused university. And of course, that we need to provide a push for us to reach there, and then we need to to facilitate growth at the faculty level. So most of planning in the research office is not actually based on what we call on a framework. So there's a SARIMA framework which I have borrowed, which I think it's got a lot of details. That SARIMA framework, and if I have to go in there, I have to base some of the things that we do on that framework for SARIMA, which is a Research Management Institute of Southern Africa, so that we can compare favorably well with some of the universities in the region. And of course, that SARIMA framework, which I have shown there, it considers innovation as transversal. And of course, it breaks up these functions at operational levels in research, innovation and development. Operational level, management level, and leadership level. This is just a synopsis there. What can be done is not full. What should be done at operational level, what should be done at management level, what should be done at leadership level. So there are actually a lot of details, and that was just a synopsis. So now, this principle here, we don't have at the University of Namibia, the full cost principle. It's actually research does not run in a vacuum. It runs on a model. And it's on a business model, and we don't have a business model at the present moment. I'll explain why I say that. So the full cost principle is a business model. Most of these universities that you see that are doing very well in research, they've got this business model, which is a full cost. So what it means is that you have to recognize that externally funded research are very costly, unless they are based on the full cost principle. So the full cost means indirect cost recovery and direct cost recovery. But at the university, for example, we have not been recovering in this indirect cost. For example, in some of the, I can give an example of NCRST, which funded this university between 2012 and 2017, and the university did not get any ICR surcharge, no indirect costs was provided by NCRST, and this is actually not healthy for the university, because this ICR is for sustainability, because a grant does not really come to the university. It is for research. Unless you have to recoup indirect costs on it, that's what helps the university, these indirect costs. So if you got only grant money going to the research, then you are not operating on a full cost principle. And of course, the finance accounting section and the project, for me, they are going to embrace that full cost function. Even if you look at SARIMA, SARIMA says that in terms of the grant, you must have a full cost principle. The cost function, the recovery function is in the grants, but it's not well established. And of course, the other thing that we don't have is the apportioning of these indirect costs. We don't have a way of saying, let's distribute these costs to some of our lecturers, and so it's extremely difficult for them to complete some of their research projects, because some of them are teaching, so they cannot be freed from teaching because they have no way of going out of their teaching. So I'm going to introduce this apportioning of indirect costs. I have models from Northwest, from UCT, from Stellenbosch, which I am going to use, and I'm going to ensure that we set up budgeterings for individual researchers and the departments, depending on how the research is actually declared. Who should get is the university and also the researcher. So the researchers can be free to go and do their work. Okay? So now let me go to the next slide here. There are 4 slides there. This is the scenario. The first 2 is actually the current scenario, which is now we are supporting researchers to go for gold open access publication, and we also do research calls and innovation calls. And for me, this is a consumptive approach. It's not a productive approach. For us who need to grow, we need to invest that side, which is a SIDCON. A SIDCON is a fund which you organize within your internal fund structure to support those lecturers who have got a chance to win a bigger one. And it's called opportunistic expenditure. So if you see that you are able to win, let's fund, not necessarily the research. We must shift there so that we can grow. And the other one is about giving an opportunity for you to market your research. It's also opportunistic. So when you see due diligence is showing that you're going to get money by marketing your research at a particular community, be it the diaspora community, then you have to fund those particular researchers so that the returns are huge. The money you put in is lesser, but the money that comes back is bigger. So that's one way we could grow. And of course, here is components of the grant cycle. For example, if you look at the first one there, we have to push, because at the moment at the university, the common phraseology is publish or perish. But we have to move away from that kind of thinking. We have to embrace the PIP, which is publish, impact, or perish. PCP, publish, commercialize, or perish. PPP, publish, patent, or perish. Most universities are moving in that direction in the research so that really there can be a change. And those that are outside the cycle, those are some of the things that we are not doing. I know that the Office of the Grant Cycle is new, but these are some of the things that could come in so that we can actually grow. There's actually a wrong perception that training can grow the institution. But if you look at last year, there were 3 trainings that were provided at this institution. I know the one where there were PVCs at Danfiliun. There's another one in the library. 2 took place in the library. You tell me what did come out of that. I'm not so sure. So training
15
is
more
not okay.
minutes.
Sorry?
15 minutes to go.
Okay. So we have to introduce such other strategies like scoping, MailChimps, time protection, triangulation, sitcom funding, and professionalization. And also at the next level, we have to introduce that one as well. Data management, and those ones I've talked about them as well. And of course, that in terms of the current structure of the grant, the last one is not actually there, and I'm going to introduce that one so that we can grow. And then I'm going to go to the next one, to this one. So for example, at the moment, the delivery of innovation is only strongly targeting natural sciences and engineering, but we need to expand that as well to social sciences. If, say, for example, research in social science can meet those components of innovation, like the one of novelty, the one of invention, the one of practical viability, let's use that as a basis for innovation. The other one is the knowledge exchange, where we can link out the university to ministers, governors, high commissioners, industry. And this is the route for funding as well from those key sectors. And the last one is public engagement, research and innovation. That is now where we could target decolonial methodology, transgressive, target the youth, the health, the drought, disasters, and so forth. So this is actually a route to funding from local financial institutions. I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to go to actually this one. That's how I want the structure of the research service to be delivered. On top there, we have work tribe. If we grow, we need to have work tribe. For example, it's actually a software that is used. Maybe if you submit 400 applications, you cannot manage it. You need to have that software, which actually ensures that a person can be anywhere, submit, and then you can check what is happening with your proposal. This Moodle, which we have here at the University of Namibia at Kotel, and we are actually not taking advantage of that one, especially for training. And for me, this is one of the things that I'm going to use so that the training for grants does not have to be face-to-face. It has to be also at distance as well, materials. It can be general grant writing or specific grant writing. Those, in terms of research ethics and integrity, part of the problem is because we don't have softwares like Infonetica. But these ones are possible only if we grow, for example, the ICR, if we grow the income for the university so that we can subscribe to some of them. But of course, module is already available at Kotel. Okay, the postgraduate study, so there's no skill development. It's actually only the students have to be on their own. And there are limited opportunities, the internationalization to a certain extent, but there's something that can be done about it. And I think that I just wanted to talk about the postdoctoral program, which is actually important. It does not come cheap. it comes at a price. Even if you wanted to ask me, get it from me, I got involved in it. It should be externally funded. And of course, my thinking was that we get it linked to the UNAM research initiatives, or maybe to some of the grants that we're going to have, so that it can produce very, very good quality programs. And I'm going to work closely with this unit for grants and projects to ensure that we go for the UNAM research initiative. One of the way is the UniTwin. This one is, you can apply anytime. The UniTwin is available anytime. We need to apply, we need to go for it. And there's also UNESCO participation program. They provide funding. A university has not used it before. I used it at one point. I got grants from UNESCO participation programs. The university should take advantage of that. And of course, I also want to mention that for me to operationalize the functions of READ, I'm not expecting the faculties and departments only to go for grants. Even READ, also, the READ has opportunities for grants. Like there are some network funds I know at what we call at GCRF, which can help us to amplify the budget for the operational budget for READ. And I'll be very quick on my feet to go for opportunities like those ones so that we can increase the amount of money that we have in the coffers of READ. And of course, I would like to extend, I want to extend a hand to the NCRST to introduce what is called the rating of academics. When I was at Northwest University, these are some of the things, some of the language that I used to hear. The internationally leading researchers, that's B, internationally acclaimed researcher, established researcher, prestigious researchers, and Y researcher. So the benefit for us at UNAM, if we have that, if we push for it, are those input factors for you to be rated. You consider, for example, the research income that you bring, the students that you supervise, the staff that you mentor, the sources and the application of grants, and the output would be the publication, the citations, the student thesis, the soft IPs, the hard IPs, the patent, and the licenses and distinctions. So this could help us with the income. The financial standing of the university could be assisted in that way. The other thing that I wanted to set up is this distinguished proficiency program. We need to have that one as well in order to complement the effort of what we call the meritorious awards policy. So distinguished professors, those are professors who excel beyond those stipulations mentioned in the meritorious award policy. For example, those that are bringing income to the university, those that are committed to promoting the culture of research, and those that benefit the UNAM strategic direction, research, and innovation profile of the university. So these are some of the measures that I'm going to take into place in order to enhance the functions, like the support services, rewarding faculties, clear goals, common goals, draw on faculty research and innovation strength, take direction from strong leadership, respond to internal and external calls for change, align departmental goals with institutional and national expectation. I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Prof. Kangira, I see your hand is up even before I say time for questions.
Thank you, Professor Kanyimba, for that very good presentation. My heart is on journals.
Yes.
And you mentioned some journals there, how you're going to do it. But could you tell me, every time we are publishing a journal at UNAM, we have a problem of funding. The bursar says we don't have money, but we want to publish. How would your office go around this? Are there any other platforms so that we can save the money instead of having, maybe I'm answering the question for you, but what are the, I will leave it like that.
Okay,
Thank
Prof,
you.
I got it, yeah.
Yeah, colleagues, let's ask the question before we answer it ourselves. Eh?
Oh, yes. Yes. My question is that, but briefly, I want to just make a statement that, of course, leading universities, you find that they minimally get funding from governments, and they generate their money from research, largely. So how do you perhaps plan so that UNAM readjust and follow suit in this regard? It's almost like Dr. Kangira's, I'm sure, direction sort of question. Thank you.
You got the question, Prof?
I got it.
Can we have another question? Is there no new hands somewhere in the venue before I give the same? Yes, there is another one there. Colleagues, I think equal distribution of some of these opportunities is also fair.
Thank you very much, Prof. Kanyimba. That was a clear presentation. My question is about the impact of research done at UNAM. I just want to get your perspective of using the H index to judge researchers, as well as the new push to have, our publications evaluated on Scopus. What is your opinion on this matter?
Okay.
We'll take a last question from Prof. Mfune.
Thank you, Prof. Kanyimba, for the presentation. I have a question relating to your views about translating vision into reality, especially at the PVC Reed's office, where you are occupying a strategic position, and in terms of implementing what you want to achieve, you are going to rely on subordinates or other colleagues that you are going to work with. How are you going to deal with what I'll call problem people that may not toll your line of vision, and they are in your office, they don't see why they must follow what you're suggesting, and they are sitting there, they are there with you for your period of time that you are a leader. What are you going to do to change the status quo so that you improve the achievement of your vision? So, for example, something comes on their desk, they don't attend to it quickly. There's need for a review of a document, they don't attend to it. People are writing emails complaining about the failure of this thing coming. I want you to indicate what are you going to do.
Wow.
Thank you, Prof.
Should I respond?
Yes, go ahead to respond to the problem people as well.
Ish, that's a very, very difficult question. Let me start first with Prof. Kangira's question. Thank you very much for that question. I think one of the achievements that I actually brought here is the platform. We are actually having a platform now where you don't need to pay money to publish. So we have started with the first issue. The first one, that is the Velvicia Journal of Agricultural Sciences. It's now online. It's live now online, and you are welcome to go for it. And of course, we are busy ensuring that those authors that are not Namibian-based outside should pay publication fees. We are busy drawing it up. And there's a pillar, we have a pillar, which is we're going to perfect it. So printing is going to be minimized. That's what I'm saying, because we have a platform. I don't know whether I'm answering the question. We don't have to print anymore, unless you want it. And there's a question about the universities that are self-sustaining. Northwest is one of them. there's about 80% of their income is 80% of their income is their own, and the subsidy is actually 20%. And one of the things that they actually do, some of the things I've said them, is to ensure that we collect, the ICR is very important, very, very important component of sustainability, ICR. So that's actually the way of recouping from grants. ICR, you get it from research. You get it from through flow funds. You also get it from equipment. There's a criteria which I know which is used there, which I will implement. And of course, the innovation is broader. They're very, very, very strong in innovation and commercialization. And they not only focus on technology and product, they do other kind of projects. I don't want to talk about teaching-related functions. I would like to talk about the research. I can go and say a lot about this. So it is the ICR, we must have the ICR, very important, and broaden the ICR, taking into account the research funds that we get, taking into account the what do they call it? The flow through funds, the money that comes through the university going to the others. They put a surcharge on that one, and they broaden the vision on innovation. Very, very aggressive, and we should be aggressive, and we'll be aggressive. In terms of the index, the H index, actually, as I've just mentioned to you, that in terms of the ratings, the ratings, for you to get it, it's not only based on the papers that you write. It's not only based on that one. So that's only one of the indicators. There are a few other indicators. So things such as if you have to be internationally leading or acclaimed or established or whatever you can call it, it's not only this factor of the H index, which plays an important role. Others play an important role. Other input factors play an important role, which I just outlined there, like do you have research income? Do you have students? Do you have what we call a lot of to have a full evaluation of a lecturer, of an academic must be based on that, not necessarily on this factor alone. I hope I'm answering your question. And the outputs there are huge and immense. And in terms of the problem people, it's actually very, very difficult, but we need to influence the behavior of our academics, the professors that we have here. We need to recognize them. So we need to reward them. So if someone, for example, Prof. Kangira is good at attracting grants, if we reward him, then we ask Professor C to do the same. Then maybe some of the things we'll be looking at the prosperity that is placed on Prof. Kangira. Maybe some of these things are likely to change. The influencing the behavior is very important. And you actually mentioned the fact that to rely on others. Actually, this office, what the Office of REIT does is to push, to open the channels for you as a professor to express yourself. You need to express yourself. That's the main function of research management and leadership. You need to express yourself. So you need to open those opportunities for you to express yourself. And of course, there will be issues like training as well. Training is also important. We need to embrace to train those ones, or we can use what is called mediated peer review assessment. If there's actually a difficult person in one faculty, you can use an example of another professor in a different faculty who's doing very well. This is called mediated peer review, and it can help to change people in one way or another. I hope that I've answered your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we are still doing good with time for the last round of questions, which must be please to the point so that we have straightforward answers to those questions. There are 2 hands up here.
Thank you very much. Prof, I have a question for you from your presentation. It clearly showed that you want to increase the research output for UNAM. My question to you is, if you look at the current situation, what do you think need to be done to make the process more efficient for researchers, especially in a view that we might have, in few years, we have 200, 400 postgraduate students submitting proposals and they need to grade papers. What, in your view, what do you need to do to make this process efficient?
Prof, you took note of the question?
Yes.
Please, to the point, ne?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Prof. My question is actually about the projects that was born out of research from these universities. For example, we are speaking about the Kalimbeza Rice project. There's also a small project in the Kavango East about mushroom at a village called Shiuru. What I've actually realized is this, that after these projects are initiated by the university, like I said earlier, initially they are born out of the research conducted by the university. 2, 3, if possible, 4 years, the university actually withdraws. You are well aware that what is born out of research can only be sustained through research, continuous research. And later on you find projects which are supposed to assist the country at a greater magnitude, like the Kalimbeza Rice project. It's now stagnated. I don't see growth that it's supposed to be and enhance the socio-economic development of this country. So what activities and initiatives that you are going to put in place in order to assist such kind of projects and touch the lives of Namibians? Thank you.
Thank you. One more, 2 questions here, then we done.
Prof, thank you very much for your presentation. I have to say I have been very touched by certain things that you said, but there is one that you didn't want to say anything about, and it still comes back to the workload issue. You are going to share a pie with a PVC academic. Obviously, the academics are employed to teach, but you still want them to research, and they must research. But how are you going to address the workload between the teaching part and the research part? Thank you.
Last question there.
Okay, good afternoon, Prof. I heard you talking about the need to reach out to government and industry, and I just wanted you to enlighten us or to give us your perception. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think the Namibian government is when it comes to driving knowledge creation through research? And if you could perhaps maybe justify the scaling and then maybe tell us what needs to be done for them to move from where they are.
Thank you for your questions, and those were the last questions. Prof, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The first one about this increase in student numbers and so forth. And I think I'm not going to say everything that I know about this. I've just selected some of the things. And I can tell you that if you give me time, few months' time, I'll design for you here the model that is at the university where I came from, where we have the emeritus professors functioning and helping out in some of the areas, especially in the area of supervision, the postgraduate students, and also supervising the early career researchers. There's a model out there that I will propose. I cannot talk about it here because of the time limitations, but I have a way out of that where we could bring back the emeritus professors, just like how it works at other universities. They work as long as possible, and they help with the postgraduate students. And that's actually very important. And also the postdoctorates. If we grow the funding, we will have some postdoctorates within our midst. And the postdocs also, some of them, they help with teaching. There are some that are only teaching-oriented, research-oriented, but others help with teaching. So I actually try to bring in that aspect as much as possible. And I'm growth-oriented. That's what I'm gonna work on. And in terms of the Kavango rice projects, I've mentioned there in my slide that one of the things that is actually not there was no time for me to talk about it, is that lack of some of these funds from our internal funds structure. We need to have the funds for marketing our products to maximize an opportunity for projects such as those ones, so that we keep on getting the income. So what happens is that if you do a research like the Kalimbeza and then some of those in Kavango, it ends there. I know people who did very exciting studies, even in indigenous healthcare practices, but it ended there because there was no opportunity for them to market it to a community that needs to use it and to keep sustaining that. So we really need to open up these channels to our academics to have more chances, more opportunities, even to the diaspora community. And the workload issue, I mentioned ICR, and I mentioned apportionment. Apportionment, actually. ICR, it works like this. You apportion some of it to the lecturer who is succeeding in getting funding. You give part of it, other to the university. So if you want to go on your research and you have to teach, you use that money to teach. But why it's not happening here is because when we get overheads, they go to the university, all of it, in some cases. And in most cases, we do not even seek for those ICRs. So ICR is not the money that must come to your pocket, it's the money that must help you, the researcher, to advance your work. And then you could hire somebody, then you can go on your research. The person can teach for you for 2 weeks under your guidance while you are doing your research. And reach out to government. I think I would like to rate myself, the university, not the government, because it's actually our role as researchers here with our expertise to reach out to them. Some of these things, some of the practices, they are not aware. So we need to reach out to them. I was talking recently to Dr. Sifani the other day. He was talking about how the South African government get more money for funding research. And he says that the government, the Division of Science and Technology, they belong to some consortiums. And their put in those consortiums 200 million. 200 million. And in return, they get 6 billion from a dividend. But who should inform the government about those things? We should. We should go out there and talk to them and say, these are the best practices. So we should rate ourselves really on a very low scale, that we are not going out there and talking to them to say, change here, so that we can grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Prof. Kanyimba. This brings this session to an end. Thank you for coming through earlier in the afternoon and now. We will contact you so that we can finalize the process. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, colleagues, and have a wonderful day.
Prof.